Hello world, Dano here, stacking paper. I don't know if I could say as always because it's been a fucking minute since I've made one of these videos because I've been in the process of moving, which sucks, but we're finally, you know, kind of leveled out. So I'm a big city guy now, so I'm a busy beaver. But we're finally back. This video's probably gonna be shit because I read these books. I say these books. I'm doing this book, Soldier of the Mist, and Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, because I read both of them while I was in the process of moving, but obviously I couldn't record during that time, so it's been quite a while since I actually read these. So my memory is not the greatest already, even when I just read the book. So I'm going to do my best to just kind of gather what I remember, because there's no way I'm going to, go through it all again. But so we'll start with Soldier of the Mist. One of my favorite authors, Gene Wolfe. Absolutely godlike prose, as usual. And the story is about this soldier who... It takes place in like ancient Greece, and he has both retrograde and antegrade amnesia, meaning he doesn't remember who he was, before a certain point, but also he can't make new memories. So every day he wakes up and he's just like hard resets. So he has this scroll with him that he writes stuff down, and every day he reads it to remind himself what he's doing. It's pretty much Memento, but in ancient Greece, and instead of tattoos, he has a scroll, which adds an interesting mechanic to the story, because unlike Memento, in Memento, he just wakes up, looks in the mirror, and reads his tattoos, right? But because it's a scroll in this, it can be lost. He can also just forget to read it, which happens a lot. And that's where you get into this like classic Gene Wolfe thing, where he just purposely leaves out information, and you don't find out till later all the stuff you're missing. So, for example, there's points in the book where you kind of just show up at a new location unexplained, and then later on he'll read the scroll again and then remember, or he'll have one of his companions tell him, "Hey, by the way, all of this stuff happened. You just don't remember it." And you see that a lot through Io, who's this like little slave girl who has just pledged herself to Latro, who's the main character. And she is just a ride or die. She really will help him with anything, and it's a really wholesome relationship. But it's kind of funny, because when he's going through those phases of not remembering, he'll see this girl and he'll talk to her as if it's like the first time he's meeting her, and she'll always be like, "Latro, I've known you for like weeks now. Please read your scroll." So there is some like real comedy going on there. And the other cool thing that's going on with this book is Latro has the ability to talk to the gods, or you should say that the gods actually talk to him. And I think the reason for that is because his memory is so mangled, they know he's not going to remember anyway, so he can have these moments of like introspection with the gods, but not really realize he's talking to gods. And the book never identifies these gods by name, but through like context clues you can figure out who they are. But again, this kind of leans into the reader's own level of knowledge about these subjects. If you don't know much about the Greek gods, you're not going to have the best time with this book, I don't think, because it's just going to be extra confusing. Like, the book is already confusing, and he has an index, which is helpful, but it still does require some level of previous knowledge, I think, to enjoy it. And even then, like, I think I gave this book a 7 out of 10 because I really enjoyed the prose, and I liked the concept a lot. The mechanic of his memory adds a lot of, I don't know, pizzazz to the reading experience, but it's not for everybody. See, I like that confusing aspect. I like trying to puzzle things together, but as usual, when it comes to Gene Wolfe, it's hard for me to recommend him to people, even though he's one of my favorite authors, because it's so obtuse and you kind of feel like you're in a forest and you got a machete and you're slowly cutting your way through these tall weeds, but you don't know if you're ever going to be satisfied, you know? And I will say the ending of this book, without spoiling it, is very unsatisfactory because it ends in the middle of action, which is, again, Gene Wolfe is super known for doing this. And it doesn't, so because of that, it doesn't really have a self-contained aspect that a lot of good first books in a trilogy have. Whereas this is like, clearly he had the idea of the whole story going through, and this is just like part one. There's a lot of similarities between this and Book of the New Sun. Book of the New Sun being one of my favorite series of all time, and I haven't even finished it. But both the first two volumes that I've read of that, the endings of the book kind of end in the middle of something happening, and the book just ends, right? And that's exactly what happens here. Also, the protagonists are very similar in the sense that they're kind of opposites, where the protagonist of Book of the New Sun claims to have a perfect memory, even though he kind of lies about it, and you figure that out through reading. Whereas the protagonist of this book has the worst memory imaginable. But they're both in kind of alien landscapes, at least to a modern reader, even though this book takes place in a very real ancient past. Like, it's a very well-researched book, too, I'll say. There's a lot of, like, words that he uses that describe things specifically of that era, again, which is why the index helps a lot. Whereas Book of the New Sun takes place in a book so far in the future that it's just as alien, where he's using words that we do have in our modern time, but he's using them to describe completely different things. Anyways, I need to stop talking about Book of the New Sun because I do need to do videos on that eventually. But for Soldier of the Mist, I personally enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't as strong as any of the other Wolfe I've read, but I'll have to see how I feel about it once I finish the next two books in the trilogy, so that I'll have a more complete story, because this first outing, as enjoyable as the journey is, it is definitely not a complete story. So that will frustrate people. But yeah, solid 7 out of 10. Nice, like, middle of the ground B tier book. It's worth it just for the prose alone. Like, there's actually some great comedy in here too, which I was not expecting. Some truly funny moments, and it all wraps around just Latro's terrible memory. But yeah, until next time, take it easy.